Welcome to Hitman Boxing. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So the division that so many people flock to, welterweight, 147, has a new killer coming up the ranks. Not a new killer per se, because he's been killing folks for a long time. And very recently, he became undisputed champion at 140. And of course, he dropped his IBF championship, but the fact still remains. Unified champion at 140. And he's calling out the welterweight division. Terence Crawford's hungry. He went to Twitter, basically put the welterweight division on notice that he's hungry and he needs it all. Hashtag 147. We know who he's talking to, people. He's talking to Keith Thurman. He's talking to Errol Spence Jr. And he's talking to Jeff Horn, TBE. Terence Crawford is coming for all those fighters. And if anybody can unify that division, Terence Bud Crawford can. And I'll explain to you why it'll be easier for him to unify a division as opposed to someone like a Keith Thurman or an Errol Spence. You see, Terence Crawford is on the top ranked side of things, right? He has an opportunity, or he will have an opportunity, to fight Jeff Horn at some point. I think that's what Bob Arum wants to do at some point. He wants to match Terence Crawford up against Jeff Horn, so he can grab that WBO title, because we all know Terence Crawford will smash, destroy Jeff the Hornet Horn. He'll make it look easy. It'll be easy work for Terence Crawford, in my opinion, okay? So he gets that WBO belt. Now, Terence Crawford is the one fighter that I believe Bob Arum has enough confidence in to match him up against those other PBC fighters, to match him up against a Keith Thurman, to match him up against an Errol Spence, because Terence Crawford is an extremely skilled fighter. Many people are calling him pound for pound number one right now. I'm not giving him that title, but he's very high up on my list of fighters. One of my favorite fighters currently, and I'm not sure how things are going to play out when he moves to 147. We know a fight with him and Errol Spence is inevitable, and it seems like he's not afraid to fight someone the caliber of Errol Spence. We also have Keith Thurman, a guy who's been in hiding for months. Well, we know he just got married, but what happened to the old Keith Thurman? What happened to the vocal Keith Thurman who was calling fighters out, wanted to make these exciting fights? What happened to that Keith Thurman? What happened to the Keith Thurman that used to welcome fighters from a lower weight class to the 147 division by calling them out like he did to Danny Garcia? Did he feel like Danny Garcia was an easier opponent? Is that why he called him out? Well, as far as Keith Thurman's concerned, I'm not sure what he's going to do when he comes back from his elbow injury. Not sure. But rest assured, I think one day we will get to see a fight between Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman. And that's a hell of a fight. Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence is a hell of a fight. It's a pick'em. They're all pick'em fights. Is Terence Crawford going to reign supreme over 147? Is it going to be Errol Spence? Is it going to be Keith Thurman? We don't know. But these are all fights that can be made. Bob Arum will make these fights. And he hasn't been very willing to make fights against PBC fighters in the past. But he will definitely do that with Terence Crawford. I can definitely see that happening. I'm excited. I'm excited for 147. Because we're going to get a chance to see a unified champion. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, that division will be unified. As far as what route we're going to go to get that unified division, I don't know. But I'm excited. Jeff Horn's got a fight coming up. Apparently, he's supposed to be facing Jesse Vargas, I guess. Or I even heard Lamont Peterson's name thrown around. So that'll be interesting. Errol Spence is still without an opponent. It seems like nobody wants to step up. And please stop making it seem like dudes aren't ducking them. You can name as many fighters as you want to, up and down the list. But deep down inside, you know nobody wants to fight Errol Spence. Nobody is calling him out. No one wants that fight. And you can't tell me he's ducking anybody. He's definitely not ducking anybody. Jeff Horn, I could care less about the politics. I know about the politics. I know how it works. But the fact still remains that Jeff Horn said he wanted to unify with the other champions. Right or wrong. When you say stuff like that, you set yourself up to be scrutinized when you don't act on it. I don't care if it's right now or your next fight. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be right now. And it doesn't seem like he wants to unify the division. Saying that Jesse Vargas is a quality opponent. Of course, he's a decent opponent for him. But nobody wants to see that fight. It's like Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne. No one wants to see that fight. I don't want to see Jeff Horn versus Jesse Vargas. I don't want to see that. I want to see Jeff Horn get in there with a killer. That's what I want to see. But we know the politics. I know the politics. Nobody's stupid. Had he not said any of that, I wouldn't be pushing for it. Now, Terence Crawford, I don't know what's next for him. He's got all the belts at 140 except for the IBF championship. Is he going to defend his belt at 140? Is he going to move up? You know, I anticipate him fighting, the winner of Jeff Horn and TBA. But Terence Crawford is definitely pegged for stardom. I don't see too many people beating Terence Crawford. I just don't. He has too many tools in his arsenal. Too many tools. He's a very polished fighter. Who beats Terence Crawford? Like, for real, who? Like, Errol Spence? I don't know. I don't think Spence can beat him. Granted, Spence is a much bigger fighter. I'm not even, you know what? The thing is, I got to figure out what Terence Crawford walks around at. But as far as him fighting Keith Thurman, and I would love to see him beat Keith Thurman. Trust me. Take them belts from him, man. Keith Thurman is holding the belts hostage right now. And when he comes back, he's going to either have to fight Sean Porter or Danny Garcia. And then what's going to happen after that? He's going to get injured, go into hiding again for another year. How old is Keith Thurman? Stop playing around, dude. Like, trust me, that's going to come back. And, he's going to come back, fighting once a year, rusty as hell. And he's going to get beat by somebody, dude. I wish these PBC fighters were more active. We haven't seen Danny Garcia since the Thurman loss. Sean Porter, I can't say anything negative about Sean Porter because apparently he had a death in the family. I hope everything's cool with that. But, he at least had a fight coming up, which is more than I can say for the rest of those guys. Errol Spence just beat Kell Brook. Can't get an opponent in the ring. Can't get anybody to fight him. Let's stop pretending like when he was coming up the rankings for the IBF that it was easy for him to find an opponent. He wasn't. People were dropping out left and right, dog. Just go back to the news. Why do you think people keep saying this? He's avoided. Just like Triple G was avoided at one point. You know what I'm saying? Like, whose channels are you watching, bro? Whose channels are you watching? What news stations are you watching? That's all I want to know. But anyway, Terence Bud Crawford is here at 147, man, and things just got a whole lot more interesting. Hitman Boxing, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I got a new channel, Hitman Boxing Uncut. I'll leave a link in the description. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel. It's going to be a little bit more, like, it's going to be like the old Hitman Boxing. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to start dropping videos on that channel like the old Hitman Boxing, okay? But feel free to add both channels, this channel and the other one. I'm going to keep it funky and 100% on y'all. I'm out.